I'm your host, Albert Ramos, and today's episode is all about how personal branding and AI are colliding in a powerful and very human way. So let me introduce today's guest, someone who lives at the intersection of strategy, storytelling, and AI tools, Liam Darmody. So excited to have him on. But let me tell you a little bit about him. Super impressive. Liam is a personal brand strategist, networking coach, and the founder of Liam's Brand Stand. Check him out on LinkedIn. You got to. There's so much good stuff on there. After nearly 2 decades scaling revenue operations and tech startups, he had an insight that changed his trajectory in his business. The same systems that grow companies can help you, can help individuals grow too. Today, Liam helps entrepreneurs and executives on LinkedIn building magnetic personal brands that attract clients, talent, and yes, opportunity. From brand strategy and ghost editing to content performance analytics, he's become one of the go-to voices on how to truly stand out. And I love this. He does it authentically, and he presses you to do it authentically as well, especially in the sea of automation and AI. And if you follow him on LinkedIn, you know he's not afraid to experiment, from creating the parenting GPT, can't wait to talk about that, with his kiddos, to uploading his nutrition data into AI, and even using AI to help pick, oh, I love this, his March Madness bracket. Oh, we're going to get competitive on this one. He's also a husband, a father. Oh, I'm getting hungry. A backyard barbecue pit master in training, and a self-proclaimed, but I got to agree with him, hot sauce aficionado. Liam, welcome to the AI Executive Podcast. So good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to our chat, and thanks for such a nice introduction. I hope I can live up to that.
Oh, stop it. No, my pleasure. We're so glad to have you. And one thing I'll say before we jump into the questions, and we had a lot of DMs. Obviously, a lot of people follow you. They couldn't wait to see this episode that will definitely be produced and distributed here soon. But what I love about what you do on LinkedIn, and we going back to that authenticity, I love how you appreciate and love on your wife publicly. I love how much time you spend with your kiddos, and you actually bring them in, you immerse them in your experience in the business world in a healthy, positive way to build up their self-esteem, to have fun. And so I just got to tell you before we jump in, that is awesome. You're an inspiration, and I hope I can live up to the standards you're creating and setting as a dad. I'm a dad of 3 kiddos and a husband as well. And I was watching, and I've been watching you for a long time. And I just wanted to let you know there's a lot of dads out there like me that are watching you, and you're setting such a great example. So definitely be proud.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Hang on one sec.
No worries.
My kiddo just put my new puppy into the
Love it.
room, and I was like, "Dude,
We're
I'm on the
authentic,
phone here."
baby. This is the real stuff. I
Yeah,
love it. I love
yeah,
it. Hey, we got families, and we got the fur babies too. All
yeah,
good.
exactly.
Well, why don't we jump in? So, Liam, you spent what 20 years building systems that scale, right? We talked about your tech startups as well. But
Yep.
what's been the biggest aha moment for you seeing how AI can help scale personal brands?
So I think just in general, artificial intelligence is opening up so many opportunities for people to be one person powerhouses, right?
Right.
It applies to any function and any skill set. If you embrace it, if you know how to use it, if you know how to treat it like it's meant to be treated. So, I look back on, my first 20 years of my career when I was in operations, and there's a lot of manual figuring things out and tinkering
Right.
and connecting things. And, like I used to live in Zapier, and I was always hooking up different systems to other systems and thinking about, okay, how do we map this out? Here's all the requirements. And now with AI, you can put in a bunch of that stuff and say, help me think through this problem. Help me think through this challenge. How should I be
Love it.
thinking about streamlining these operations? And so I think that was one of the things that for me really just stood out. It's like people talk about AI as if it's this thing that's going to come and take over the world and change, our jobs and take our jobs. And I just look at it as very similar to the way that the internet was, right? When the internet came
Right.
out, people were super skeptical of that too. But now we can't live without it. Business lives on the internet. And so I think that's just one of the things that most people need to think about, is that it doesn't threaten you. It actually gives you more opportunity to accelerate how quickly you do things, and eliminates the need to do a lot of the rote administrative stuff that you kind of don't love doing anyways. So you can focus on the things that you do love doing. And
Right.
so that's really how AI has taken my business by storm. I think there will be billion-dollar one-person businesses someday,
Right.
because there will be people that understand how to use AI to their advantage, and they don't need a team surrounding them. So that's really, the power of it.
I love it. And I have a couple things to follow up on that, right? What was that gut feeling? Like what made you say, you know what, we need to double, triple down on personal branding. This is going to be the thing. You hear it now
Yeah.
every day. Your personal brand, right? Whether you're in the corporate environment or doing something on your own, it's now the hot topic, but you've been doing this for a long time. What was it then that and that made you get ahead of the curve and said, you know what, there's something here, we need to use these platforms, specifically here LinkedIn, to help elevate people's personal brand so that they can create more of a business or even touch points, serve others in a large way. What was it for you?
So it's actually interesting. My story, the way that I went from being in operations, wishing I was in marketing, to actually being in marketing, was because of my personal brand, which I didn't even know I was building. I kind of built it by
I love
accident.
it.
So in 2019, my daughter was born. I was on paternity leave, and for the prior 6 months to a year, I was spending a lot of time on LinkedIn just consuming content, like most people do. Right? You're
Right.
staying in touch with your connections. Don't really view it as a social network. Don't really view it as a networking place. It was more so just a utility where I stored my contacts from prior positions and updated them and where I was working, and then congratulated them on where they were working. And it was just really not a social place at the time. But I was spending a lot of time here consuming content about business, right? And so I decided I was going to start creating. I was like, why don't I just start sharing my thoughts on LinkedIn? I was
Took the
super
step.
intimidated by it, as most people are. It's for
Right.
some reason there's a stigma around LinkedIn, and corporate companies are like, "What are you doing spending time on there? You're looking for a job," And so
Right.
there's all sorts of insecurities around commenting on the platform and creating content there. But I just went in for it. My companies were pretty cool. I've always worked at tech startups, so they're usually pretty lax about stuff like
Right.
that and not overly concerned. So I started creating content on the platform. 2 or 3 years later, a CMO reached out to me, and he said that he wanted to hire me to do an employer brand and talent marketing function, basically stand up a team for him.
Wow.
They had a pretty aggressive hiring objective, and it was all tied to basically positioning the company for a sale. So when I interviewed with him, I was like, I'm flattered that you want me to do this, but I don't have any brand marketing
What
experience.
the
I don't
heck?
even have the words brand or marketing on my resume.
I love it.
And his response was, I've been following you on LinkedIn for 6 months. I've seen all I need to see. And
Wow.
that was the
That's
moment. That was
powerful.
when I realized that this platform has the potential to change the trajectory of your career, and not even trajectory. It has the potential to change your career entirely. I pivoted, right? If I'd applied for that position with my resume, the recruiter would have probably rejected it immediately because I didn't even have those keywords. So
Right.
that was when I kind of had that aha moment. So I took the job. 2 years later, we were acquired for a little over $1 billion, and then I was let go 6 months after that. And I thought, okay, well, what do I do here, right? Do I go back to operations? Do I go back and try and do personal branding at a larger organization? Because most smaller organizations don't have a dedicated resource for that. At least they didn't at the time. And I said, well, the third option is to create my own consultancy and just see if I can teach people how to use this platform that has been so good to me. And I obviously went that route. I launched my business in August of 2023, and I've been working since on just helping people find opportunity and manifest serendipity on LinkedIn, which is kind of what I that's my slogan. My tagline
So
is
that I love that.
manifesting serendipity. And people are like, my wife who's in marketing was like, that's so cheesy. Why would, but it's LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn
That's
marketing
awesome.
is a little different than, B2C marketing. Uh, and it's true. I mean, I have built a global network. I've built relationships with people all over the country, all over the world, who, if I traveled to their city, I would be able to just sit down and have a coffee with them, helping them grow their businesses, helping them find new people that might be worth them connecting to. Like definitely consider myself a super connector, and
Great.
uh, and so that was it. I mean, that was it was just passion. It was pursuing passion for
What an
this platform and
amazing,
for people.
yeah, what an amazing story, right? I think number one, create content, right? And I know you're
Mhm.
right. There's a lot of people that are intimidated by that because you don't really know who's watching. And that's typically, yeah, it's typically the corporate job that you're in. But you made a great point. You never know who's watching, right?
Right.
And while the profile and the about section and your resume are important, what's more important is that those that are making the decisions get to know you, right? Get to
Correct.
know about your character, your integrity, the consistency of your personal brand. And you are a
Hmm.
great example of that, right? That is so funny that you had no marketing experience. However, I mean, the content you were putting out was, as they probably said, better than any marketing team member employee could have done, right? And so that was your resume, right? It was your portfolio in real time. That
That's
is
right.
so cool. How funny. I would have been sweating bullets in that interview. I was like, what am I doing here? That is
No,
awesome.
it was great. It was a very interesting exchange, and it was definitely a light bulb moment for me.
Yeah. And the other thing that I love, right, is that you bet on yourself. And I think people need to hear more of these stories, right? And yours wasn't linear, right? You had some startup experience. You took a position that, shoot, I don't really know what the heck they're talking about, but I know
Yeah.
how to create relationships. I know how to create a brand. So yeah, this can click, right? So you took another risk, and then you were put in a position to make a decision, and you decided to bet on yourself. And I just think what a great story, because it's not cookie cutter. I think people need to hear the messiness, right? And the
Yeah.
messiness is the beautiful part of it, right? And to back to the authentic point, in just our few couple of chats recently and today, right? Your relatability, your authenticity, right, is it's contagious. I mean, you're so lovable. I wish I was in the room. I know this is virtual, but it's good. We need more people like you, and I could tell why people are so, like myself, so gravitated towards you. I really appreciate you sharing that story. We need more of that, and I can't wait for people to watch this because they need to hear it. Take a risk. It's okay. It's scary, but take the risk. Take the risk. Take the first step. That's awesome. So we brought up AI, and you can do a lot of things on LinkedIn with AI, from posting to analytics to it's a lot easier than it was even 5 6 years, maybe shoot, even a year ago. But back to this authenticity point, right? The human factor in this world of AI, when you can do anything quickly, from comments to posting to scheduling. What do you recommend? How do you consult your clients or those that you connect with to say, hey, wait a second, don't go all AI. You gotta be you. You gotta be authentic. It has to be real. What do you let them know? How do you advise them?
Sure. So first off, what I tell people is that they should be treating LinkedIn like a journal that they would share with family, friends, and colleagues.
Wow.
So, if you think about it through that lens, it kind of puts guardrails up. So you're not going too far into the personal, you're not going too far down like a political route because you don't
Right.
necessarily want to offend or upset anybody.
Sure.
And it allows you to focus on just telling authentic stories about your lived experience. My belief is that LinkedIn is evolving into, a personal reputation platform, a personal brand platform, right? There, for the
Right.
first time in years, they are promoting the idea of building a personal brand on LinkedIn. So I do believe that that is kind of the future. I also tell my clients that LinkedIn is, by and large, the context that is missing from your resume. So your resume is a bunch of
So good.
bullets, it's a bunch of shorthand, it's what you've done, where you've done it, and when. LinkedIn gives you the ability to put a little bit more context around that and talk about who you are and why you do what you do and how
Mhm.
you do the things that you do. That's really powerful stuff, right? And I think that that is where you have to fill in the gaps, right? People are like, "Oh, I have a job already. I don't need to hang out on LinkedIn." Well, sure, until you need the job again. And then it's like you go back to LinkedIn and you try and activate your network, and you're like, "Dang, I should have done this 2 years ago. What was I doing?" Right? So your personal brand is always marketing for you. It's always selling for you if you invest in it, if you show up and you put content out there. So that's the first point. Once you get comfortable sharing content and creating content for the platform, then there's tremendous amounts of opportunity. This is where AI comes into the play, right? Because you have tools like Claude and Perplexity and ChatGPT, where you can leverage AI to kind of tell your story for you, right? If you don't feel comfortable writing a ton of content, or you're overthinking it. I get this all the time. People are like, it takes me 3 hours to write a post. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, you
Right.
should be spending 10 minutes max to write a post and let it fly and see what happens. But people, again, are so caught up in that LinkedIn stigma. Everything has to be polished. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be, I have to be an expert in order to post on LinkedIn. That's the old LinkedIn. That's not, new LinkedIn. New LinkedIn is everybody has a lived experience. Everybody has work experience. Everybody has knowledge that's valuable to share. And so if you treat it that way and you just say, I'm going to put this out in the world, I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to share what I know with other people and hope that somebody gets value out of it. And instead of thinking about hundreds of thousands of people getting value out of it, think about, can 100 people get value out of this? And
Sure.
just start thinking about it in terms of karma and good juju, right? What you put out in the world will come back to you. Um, in terms of using AI and maintaining that authenticity, right? I always say, don't use automation. LinkedIn does not like automation.
Right.
It is a quick way to get your account restricted. So I definitely tell people not to do it. I turn
I've
clients down
seen
all the
that.
time who are just
Hmm.
looking for an efficiency play, and I'm like, nope, don't do that. That's not my bag. You got to put in the work, right? But there are ways that you can get more creative with your content using AI. So, for example, you can download all the data that you have on LinkedIn, including the messages that you've sent to people, and they will send you a file that has every single message you ever sent on LinkedIn and every single post that you have on LinkedIn. So you take that data, you upload it to Claude, you instruct Claude to act as a professional ghostwriter for whatever your field is or your function is, and analyze those documents. And then anytime you ask it to create a LinkedIn post, ask it to do it in that narrative and tone. And at this point, Claude writes my content probably better than I can. I still don't really use it, like copy paste, put it on there. But
Right.
if I'm ever just sitting around, I'm like, I need a good idea. I'm kind of, I have writer's block. I'll just go into Claude and be like, "Hey,
You have
can
your
you give me a couple
ghostwriter.
posts that are in my voice, and let's see which ones stick." And I'll pick one out. I'll edit it a bit and then throw it out. That's how I recommend people use AI for maintaining authenticity, because it can learn your voice and it can learn how you write and how you convey messages. Um, but you have to have a larger subset of data, and that's where you get that data. So a lot of people
I
don't know that that's a possibility, and that's
I
one
didn't
way
know
that I
that.
teach them.
I've
Yeah.
been playing with LinkedIn for quite some time. I did not know that. You don't understand. I almost left the studio right now because I needed to go check this out. I'm so fired up. This is awesome. And for everyone in marketing, those in personal brand, you're trying to lift up your personal brand. I mean, that's a huge nugget, and I think we're going to get some snippets on that one. We're going to get a lot of buzz. So that I have not seen. I have not seen in my feed whatsoever. And you got some, Jasmine Alik, I think is how you say his name. You have some other ones. You have Liam Darmody. I have not seen that one. That's a big one. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I'm taking nuggets away too. This is so good.
It's awesome.
So we see the benefits, right? There's benefits there, as you say, but where do you advise your clients and your community of followers to say, hey, and you mentioned automation, right? But hey, this is where it can benefit you. But if you use AI this way, this is where you start hurting your brand. What are one or two ways that people just, hey, this is a watch out for. Don't do this. You mentioned automation, maybe a couple more that let's stay away from this because it can really hurt your messaging or storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, using AI to comment is,
I've
in
seen
my
those.
opinion, probably the worst thing you can do on LinkedIn, because it's
Yeah.
so obvious, and the people who are creating the content can see it. The people who are in those people's networks can see it.
Right.
And, if you just look like somebody who's regurgitating, I mean, could there be anything more inauthentic than engaging with somebody's content and leaving a message on their posts through automation with an AI tool? Like, it's
Right.
just, it's not, it's like, why even bother? Why show up? I think that's the other thing that's unique about LinkedIn, is that people underestimate that it is really a relationship building platform. It is
Right.
a professional reputation platform. And you can either build a reputation and try and attract an audience of people that think you are intelligent and have good things to say and authentic, or you can cut corners and you can do the growth hacker route, and you can try and build this massive big account because you think it's just another social platform to conquer. That is a bad decision.
Right.
That's just not a good decision, because so much of business relies on relationships, and so much of your success in business is about your reputation. So why would you squander it because you want to chase vanity metrics? And so really the thing that
Spot
I would
on.
say people need to stay away from. Yes, LinkedIn itself prompts you and says, "Do you want to draft a post with AI? Do you want to draft a comment? Do you?" So even LinkedIn is encouraging it a little bit, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. You know what I mean? And so I
It's
always tell
so
people,
it's such an interesting point, right? Because I think many of us, the adoption gap is starting to close, right? We hear it all the
Mhm,
time, AI this, AI that, which it makes sense because it is that powerful, right? We are going through a revolution, this golden age of high productivity, right?
mhm,
Efficiency gains, right? Creativity boost. So it's amazing. However, there is this odd part of the human culture right now where it's almost like, because it's not human, there's a bit of a stigma to it. Well, that's AI, right? That's AI. So it's like when you see those emojis still, and I sometimes I'll go into people's DMs like, hey, we don't know each other. Just giving you a little, piece of advice. Don't do that
yeah,
because people get a sour taste for some reason. Like, oh, while it's great speed and efficiency, that wasn't really them. That was something they didn't put a lot of work into that. They didn't put a lot of thought into that. In the human brain, I think right now is identifying it as that is actually not good. Like I do not like that, right? Or to your
right,
point, the regurgitation. It's like, are you being condescending by just repeating everything? Like, are you being passive aggressive, AI? Because you just repeated everything I said with no other additional. What are your thoughts? Like, that's not a conversation.
right,
I just think it's so funny. We're in this weird spot, right? And I think eventually it will be this. There will be a place for that bot on bot, right? They'll understand each other. They'll like that type of communication. But
sure,
with human in the loop and personal branding, you do have to protect against that because you can lose someone like that. And I'll tell you, I've seen some things that I know, the emoji, the text, I unfollow. I don't want to see, put some thought into it, put some originality in it. Not to say don't use AI, but be you, be you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly it, right? If it if you query, learn how to prompt effectively, right? Learn how to tell AI to spit out something that meets the criteria and the objectives that what you're trying to put out. Um, and go back and forth with it, right? There's a lot of people who just let AI do something and then they're like, okay, that's good enough. I'll throw it out there. Fine. But you're better off reading what it says and saying, I don't really
Right.
write that way. And then you either tell AI, I don't use words like this, and this. So try and cut back on words like that. Because the other beauty of artificial intelligence is that it remembers what you're saying all the time. So it's always learning, it's always updating its database of knowledge about who you are and what you do. And it will get smarter over time. So do I think there's a world where AI plays a larger role on a platform like LinkedIn? I think there definitely is a world in
Mhm.
which that happens, but I don't think we're there yet. And I think we're still in
Right.
that stage where people are like bristling to the idea that it's showing up in so many places. And so you have to be mindful of that if you want to put forth a persona of authenticity. You need to make sure that you're not even giving a whiff of suspicion that you're using
Yeah.
artificial intelligence to create your content at
Yeah, it's
scale.
almost like we want cyborg, not full on robot yet. We want like a little bit of hybrid.
That's
we
right.
we need a little bit of your hybrid. It's so funny. Yeah, I'm with you, and for those watching, I think you're right. Be mindful. Be mindful. Not only yes, take the next step. Feel free, use AI to your benefit, but still be you. And I really love that you promote that quite a bit.
Hmm.
I mentioned that I've been watching your videos, and you're a family guy. And one of the things that stood out that I was really excited about, I wanted to learn some more about what you were doing. You were using AI, kind of getting away from the personal brand for a sec, is in your personal life with your daughters, and specifically using it as a bedtime storyteller. Can
Yep.
you walk us through that? I think that's really cool. And for those watching, I think you got to do this. Do this tonight. Do it with your kids. I've done it, and actually, you gave me some inspiration there. I'll tell you now, my kiddos they're 7, 5, and 2. And the 5-year-old thinks it's a real person, so now I got to figure out. He's always asking for Sky. Where's Sky? I'm like, dang man, I got to get work done. I can't. You can't use my phone the whole time.
That's
What made you
amazing.
What made you think of that? And what are some of the craziest stories, or maybe the most adventurous, exciting stories that you've heard thus far?
Yeah. So, I think I am of the mindset that technology helps humans reach their maximum potential. And there are a lot of people who are wary of artificial intelligence and technology in general. They don't like change. They don't like, the potential. They immediately go to what's the disaster that this could create, instead of thinking about the opportunity and the
Right.
potential that it unlocks. And for me, I think with the next generation of youth, that potential is something we will not realize, we've never realized before, right? I think there will be an elementary school kid that has a multi-million dollar business without the help of his parents, because he's using ChatGPT, he or she is using ChatGPT on a regular basis.
Right.
So I use ChatGPT often with my kids, because I want them to be familiar with it. I want them to understand. I do explain to them that it is a computer. Sometimes they fall into that trap. And they're like, "Oh yeah, just ask ChatGPT." And I was driving my son somewhere with a friend of his, and they were asking me all these questions about football, and I'm not really that big of a football guy, and so I was like, I don't know. They're like, who's the best player, and who's this, and who's that, and I was like, I have no idea. He's like, well, just ask ChatGPT. And my son's buddy was like, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's the woman in my dad's phone that knows everything. And I thought that was
That
hilarious,
is
right?
awesome.
And when I first gave my son ChatGPT and I had him, using DALL-E, this was many months ago,
Right.
probably almost a year ago, and I just gave it to him and I said, "Just tell it what you want." And so he starts asking for a picture of a kid with brown hair playing football in the Miami Dolphins outfit. And then watching him use this tool was fascinating, because one of the things that I've observed in working with, pretty senior people, is that they're very nervous about how to use it because they're worried about using it wrong.
It's
And
language.
you can't really use AI wrong, right? Like, it's
Right.
there and it's got capabilities, and you just start using it. And watching kids who have zero inhibition, he was like, "No, I don't like that. Make them fatter, make them skinnier, make them taller, make them this, make them that, make the sky red, make the sky blue."
Right.
They have zero constrictions, right? They're totally into this creative mindset. And so that is one of the reasons that I wanted to start using it with my kids, right? I could sit down with my son and he could ask me a question and I could say, I don't know the answer to that, and be too lazy to go Google it and find the answer. Or I can just be like, let's ask ChatGPT. And now he knows all sorts of things. And I can like teach him how to say sentences in Spanish or Russian or Japanese. Like, there is endless potential to educate your
Amazing.
children in ways that you couldn't do before, as time efficiently, right? Like, for me
Right.
to try and teach my kid how to say something in Japanese would be nearly impossible. So that is just one of the ways that I'm using it. To your point in the earlier opening the question, my daughter has a wild imagination and she loves to create. And so we were reading a story, and I said, "Hey, you want to do something fun? Do you want to write a story together?" And she said,
Oh
"Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, totally." She's 5. And I said, "Okay, give me a person, place, and thing, because that's a game. That's her favorite game. She wants to play it every night at dinner. Person, place, or thing. 20 questions, right?" I said, "All right, give me that." And then she's like, "Okay." And then she goes, "And I want to add this, and I want to add this, and I want to add this." And so again, it's like the child, the child's mind is like boundless creativity, right? So they just keep adding it. Taylor Swift was in there. We ended up in New York. Like, my dad was there. There was a dog in the picture. Like, and I
Wow,
created.
I get toilets in space, and I get all, I
That's
got
my
my
son.
it's my boys. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my son wants to know, who has the loudest fart ever,
Yeah,
right? Like, and
exactly.
that's the question he'll ask. But for example, like, I've created a custom GPT project for him to use, so that he can just ask it all these questions. And then my hope is that down the line, his custom GPT will be able to sort of understand his full knowledge base based on what he said to it
Absolutely.
when he was 5, 6, 8, 10. Um, and if you think about it from that perspective, like, you now have a tool in your pocket that understands you probably better than you understand yourself. And
Liam,
then
this
you
is
can
so good.
key off of that, so that you're just you've got this assistant in your pocket that's telling you everything that you need to know. So it's wild. The use cases for it are insane. I mean, I use it to be a better dad.
Right.
I have a parenting GPT that I've created, and I've said, I want you to
I
act
love that.
as a psychologist and a parenting expert, for people who have strong-willed children who are highly emotionally intelligent and emotionally sensitive, because that's what my son is. And I will just talk with it back and forth. I'll be like, I lost my shit with my kid today, and I feel really badly about it. And then ChatGPT will
Mhm.
talk to me about it, and like,
So real.
it's amazing. Uh,
So
it,
real.
it's there's nothing like it. I mean,
I
when
absolutely.
once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the thing.
Right,
I think a lot of
exactly.
people haven't seen it yet.
There's so much there. It's so real. I truly hope there's dads, there's parents that are out there that watch this because, like you, I've done some similar things, not just as a parent, but as a spouse, right? As
Yeah.
a professional, as a leader in our church, right? There's just so many ways you can use this for good. You don't have to be afraid of this. There's this technology that can be your agent, your assistant, right?
Yep.
And we have these morning buzz shows. I don't know if you've caught them yet, but we do them every morning. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7:30 Central, and we've been touching on quite a few topics, but one of them that we get really jazzed about is our kids, is
Yep.
our community of kids, and leaving a legacy and teaching them how to use this technology to build up their self-esteem, right?
Yep.
Not just the education piece, right? And elevating their education experience and hyper personalizing it, but elevating and building their self-esteem, right? And
Yeah.
to your point, you know what I love, and there's a tool out there, there's a couple tools, right? Transcribers. I love this one, Plot AI. There's one I think they came out with it, you can put on a lanyard, and it's a 24-hour battery life. And I always loved watching those like war documentaries, and they're writing letters. And I'm like, man, I wish I wrote a diary. Like, who the heck has time for that? It's very, at least for me, it's always been hard because I get sleepy. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
writing, like, man, I can't finish. I'm done.
Sure.
But you can use these transcribers now to truly have a diary for your life. And
Yep.
then what people don't get, and you're hitting on this with the example from your son, is then you can go and query that data. You can learn so much about yourself from a personal development, professional development, memories. And we're not even getting in this conversation right now into avatar and family members, and that's coming. I mean,
Yep.
it's already here, but once it gets mainstream, I mean, you think about when you lose someone in the conversations, and you could read about them, but the conversation or the pictures that you wish you could still have, it's here, it's
Yep.
here. And so yeah, this is so powerful. Okay, switching gears, because that was really good. I could go on for a long time with you. And so you talk a lot about building your personal brand. What's the difference between building your personal brand and your professional brand, or even an enterprise creating their own brand? Like, is there some similarities there? Right? I hear a lot about organizations should use their employees' personal brand to expand upon their organization's brand. It's a
Yep.
little that can be a little tricky, right? There has to be some guardrails there. However, even with the guardrails, you can't necessarily, as a corporation, at times, most cases, can't control the content that's being generated. So it's a fine line because it can be risky.
This is why LinkedIn is the perfect place for it.
Hmm.
Because as I mentioned before, there's a stigma associated with LinkedIn to keep it professional. You're a little bit nervous about what your employers might think. So,
Hmm.
that is one of the reasons that I think employers should be embracing this, right? And I think the challenge is, I'll use my last company as a perfect example, right? They hired me. They wanted to build an employer brand. They wanted to activate their employees' personal networks and try and get them to refer business in or refer new candidates in. And they're like, we want to see them posting. And I'm like, okay, well, have you guys talked to them about that? Have you told them you want them to post? And they're like, yeah, they know. They know. I'm like, no, do they? Like, do you have a strategy? Have you literally identified people at the organization that you think would be good stewards of the brand and shown them how you want them to be posting, or given them
That's
prompts
good
to
feedback.
post, right?
That's great.
It's because on the other hand, I would talk to people and be like, I never see the executives posting, so maybe they don't want us posting. I don't want to go out on a limb and have them think I'm trying to find another job. So there was a miscommunication there. There was a disconnect, and so I had to sort of try and help facilitate a bit more of a strategy and a structure around that. And the other thing that I say to CEOs that I talk to, I had one CEO say to me, if I hire you and you come in and you train my team to do all this stuff on LinkedIn and then they start leaving, I'm going to look like, the biggest chump on earth, and my investors are going to be mad about it, et cetera. And I was like, okay, well, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah,
The other way,
exactly. That's
the
one way.
the other way to think about it is, you're thinking about, what if I let them post on LinkedIn, and like, let is not the right word, right? Like, what if they post on LinkedIn and they get recruited away?
Hmm.
Okay, well, the question that you should be asking is, am I giving them enough reasons to stay? not
Good for
should I
you.
be restricting them for posting? Because if you're hiring talented people to begin with, they're already getting recruited. Like recruiters be recruiting. They're not holding back because your people aren't posting on LinkedIn. They're searching based on title. So why are you thinking that somehow letting them post on LinkedIn is going to make them all of a sudden more attractive? And I mean, yes, in theory, but like your focus as a CEO should be, I want to make sure that if somebody's getting recruited away, they have every reason to stay and not go elsewhere. And so he was like, "Oh, I never really thought about it that way. That makes sense." So then what
That's
you
so
do is
good.
you make this part of your strategy, your brand strategy, right? Everybody can be in marketing, everybody can be in sales, everybody can be in recruiting. You just have to put some parameters around it, and you have to say, like for example, create a calendar, 52-week calendar. Every Monday, you send out a message to the entire staff and you say, "This week, we would love to hear all of you answer the question, what 3 adjectives make a phenomenal leader on LinkedIn?"
Wow.
And that's it. Just let them go do it. And you are encouraging them, you're giving them an idea, and you're telling them, you're giving them permission, a sense, even though they technically don't need it, to go out and say what they say. And the other thing that is important to think about is we hire people to work at companies because we trust their knowledge, we trust their maturity, we let them work with clients, we let them work with other colleagues, we let them work with customers, and yet somehow we think that they're going to go on LinkedIn and start putting content out that's you know going to look bad on our brand. I don't understand how you can draw that tie, right? It's like they're
It's just
representing your
such
brand every
a
day anyways.
exactly, and it's just such an old and I have a lot of familiarity with this, and it hits a chord with me.
Yeah.
There's so much of that still in today. I mean, it is just so old school, and I don't know if a different phrase for that, but old school thinking in this modern digital age.
Yep.
To think that you as an executive leader can control that it's just and not leverage it for good, right? I love what you said. Educate your team on how to use these tools. How exciting. Most
Yep.
organizations are not doing that. I would love to work for an organization that is going to help me build my digital marketing personal branding skills.
That's
That's
right.
awesome. What
Yep.
a value add. I mean, that's just an attraction power to
Yep.
get some of the best. And if you're worried about people leaving for what they're doing on LinkedIn, you're right. There's some sort of other internal issue that is making people leave. It's not they're being recruited by others, right? It's you're not giving them enough reasons to stay. Your team member engagement plan is totally off.
Yep.
And so, creating restrictions, and that never works, right? We know this from kiddos to adults. Creating restrictions and saying, "Hey, we're going to do the Machiavellian way, control, command, and all of that."
Yep.
That doesn't work anymore. So, for those listening that are like, "What the heck are they talking about?" Wait a second, this is a bad idea. No, and I hope those that are employees, maybe if you're on your own, great, keep doing what you're doing. There's no boss, but if you are an employee of corporate America, send this video over to your boss and to let them watch it, right? We got to leverage the creativity that these amazing people on LinkedIn have, and they can't be restricted. No one wants to work in an environment like that. It's so old school.
That's right.
That doesn't make any sense. That's spot on. I love that, and there's a lot of value there, and I'm looking forward to that piece going out too. I saw on your LinkedIn, I thought this was good. I have a pretty heavy background in finance, analytics, KPI dashboards, right? And I saw that not only are you advising your clients on how to create a personal brand, and you have a ton of best practices. You're so vocal about it. You're very transparent about it on LinkedIn, which I love. There's a ton of value, I would say, for free that I can get, right? It's like that Gary V jab jab, what is it? Jab jab right hook. So
Jab, jab, right hook. Yep.
yeah, I love it. Like I get so much from you, but then, you'd obviously take it to 10 times, a 10x when people, spend some one-on-one or, enterprise to you time. And that's awesome. How do you use technology, AI on the analytics front to assess whether, the brand, personal brand, professional brand, enterprise brand is doing well or not? How do you measure that?
Well, they don't make it super easy, at least on LinkedIn, because you can't
That's true.
actually get metrics reports, right? So
Right.
LinkedIn's a little bit behind in that regard, but I think they're working on it. And I hope there will be a time where you can just download all your data, because right now what's happening is that there's this cottage industry of third-party providers who are building all these tools that facilitate people finding out what their analytics are so they can scrape all your data and they can tell you how your content is performing. The challenge with using one of those tools is that LinkedIn considers them a violation of your user agreement. So
Right.
if you get caught, you could lose your account. And that's happened to me once in my entire 20 years on LinkedIn. And it was last October. And I only had one Chrome extension in my browser, and it was for a tool that I didn't think had any violation whatsoever. And I got restricted. So, I just don't play with that fire. Right. um,
Right.
but there are those tools. And if you are willing to take that risk, you can get a download of all of your data and your analytics. And from there, you just throw it into ChatGPT and you have it analyzed. So I have historical data from when I was using that tool for about 2,000 posts. And so
Wow.
I can basically go into ChatGPT and I can say, what were my top 5 performing posts from an engagement standpoint about this topic? And then it'll pull them up and it'll tell me these are the posts that perform the best. Um, and that's really powerful because you're just basically querying your own personal database of content and it's doing the analytics for you. You don't even have to run pivot tables or create bar charts or anything. I mean, I still do that because it's fun for me. I'm a
You just
nerd, but
did you just say
but
pivot table? People are like, they're gonna DM what the heck's a pivot table? It's actually very useful. Learn how to do it, but
and
no,
it's
that's
not
so
that
funny.
hard. I mean,
It's
it's
not
pretty
that.
straightforward.
It's good.
But
It
yeah, I
actually
mean, people are
organizes a lot.
intimidated by it. People are
Yeah.
intimidated by analytics.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, one of the ways that you can do it is as long as you can get the data and put it in a spreadsheet, ChatGPT can do anything for you.
Well, here's the thing, right? And especially as you're starting, or even if you've been doing this for a little while, creating your personal brand, content, except videos, right? It's a big press in
Hmm.
24, 25 and on, right? On LinkedIn specifically, or you got to experiment. And in order to know if the theory, was right, if your idea is working, is analytics. You got to know, yes, this worked and this didn't. You have to have some sort of data. And speaking of experimentation, you post a lot about that. You like to experiment. We talk about it on our morning show. Stay creative, stay innovative, right? Lean in. And you do
Yep.
that a lot, from the storytelling GPT to, I love your nutrition GPT. Actually, we did some experimenting the other day. We just talked about it a couple mornings ago. Use a lot of Zaps, so Zapier, right? And there's some other platforms out there to create some automations as well. So, what would you say if someone's looking to create a personal brand and maybe they're starting from scratch right now? What should they be experimenting on using LinkedIn? What maybe is it an AI tool? Is it some sort of platform that they can integrate with LinkedIn if possible? Or maybe it's a feature. I recently, I couldn't believe it. I had no idea LinkedIn had a newsletter feature. I'm like,
Yep.
where was I?
Yeah.
And the amount of conversations that I have from that newsletter, I mean, it's fairly easy to do, especially when you're using AI to create some ideation, and then you obviously make it authentically you,
Yep.
right? But the amount of people that just wanted to read long form, click
Yep.
on some links, and then interact with me, actually I found, wow, that I actually got more buzz from that than I was getting from some of my posts. And granted, maybe that's telling me, hey, you got to be more value added on your posts. Your newsletter clearly was offering value. So there's an example. I'm going to experiment with a newsletter, and immediately, I mean, within a couple of weeks of building up that subscription from my follower base, like, wow, that was awesome. I'm engaging with way more people than I would have had I not done that. What are some other areas that people can experiment with to start with their personal brand?
I mean, for me, the place that I tell people to start is comments. You know,
Oh, I
uh,
love it.
LinkedIn is LinkedIn has, or at some point had a slogan: "Join the conversation." Right? When you get an email from LinkedIn notifying you on something, there's a little CTA at the bottom that says "Join the conversation." And when I first got that, I was like, "What conversation?" Right? This was like 2017. Like, there's no conversation. It's just press releases that people are sharing and
Right.
announcing their new jobs. But it's evolved pretty significantly, especially post pandemic, right? Where you have people that took to LinkedIn to build connection with other human beings, right?
Mhm.
And so I think commenting is a big way to dip your toes into the ecosystem and get your brand in front of people. I mean, the other thing is that everybody should be networking, right? Like, don't wait till you need a job to network,
Right.
and don't assume that the only network you have is people that you've worked with in the past,
Right.
because that's only a part of your story, right? You can find new people and add them to your network, and you can find new opportunity through those people that you didn't know existed otherwise. And that is the power of networking, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, where you can see what people's titles are. You can see what companies they work at. You can see all sorts of things about them that you don't get access to on any other platform, right? So that is the power of it. And if you spend some time talking on people's content and you spend some time conversing with other people in the comment sections, I like to tell people that a LinkedIn post is kind of like a little bit of a keynote at a conference. And the
Right.
comment section is the sort of chit chat that happens in the audience afterwards, or
Right.
it's
Or the panel.
it's the panel, or it's
Yeah.
the networking event that happens at the end of the day. That's kind of LinkedIn in its broader sense, is just one gigantic networking event. Um, and so that's where I tell people to start first. If you're not comfortable with creating content, that's it. The second thing is find content from people that interest you, and content that will fill your feed and inspire you to get involved in the conversation. It's rumored that only 25% of people use LinkedIn on a monthly basis, and it's rumored that less than 10% of those people are creating content like
Wow.
posts.
Like
So
consuming.
yeah, so I have people all the time that are like, nobody in my network posts. I'm like, okay, find some new people who are posting. Go to LinkedIn
Right.
search and look for people that have your job title or are talking about a topic that you like, and find posts about that, comment on the posts and connect with those people and start having conversations. Like, there's all right there for you. You just have to know how to find them. And that's what a lot of people, I think, are still sleeping on. They're like, I use this analogy. Somebody that I was talking to a few weeks back said that she went to a coffee place, was standing in line with somebody. They were having a great conversation. And then at the end of the conversation, they got their coffees and they were ready to part ways. And she goes to the person, "Hey, I really enjoyed our conversation. You want to connect on LinkedIn?" And the person looked at her, snortled, and was like, I already have a job. Why would I connect with you on LinkedIn? And I'm like, I'm sure the majority of professionals still view it that way.
Right.
And they don't realize that there's this undercurrent of community that keeps the whole platform buzzing. And once you're tapped into that community, it's an incredible feeling,
That's
and it's very
amazing. Yeah.
powerful.
It's funny. I'm with you. I want to double down on that commenting. What I notice on the analytics, back to analytics as well, is they significantly increase when I just started commenting and engaging with people. And by the
Yep.
way, I had way more fun. I love content creation. I love the
Yeah.
newsletter piece, right? The videos, podcasts, morning shows, but I love engaging with people, and it's typical. And you could be a little bit more humorous, a little bit wittier on the
Yep.
comments. And then I found that I don't know, you'll know it better than me. I think the algorithm likes that more actually when
Oh yeah.
there's this like community engaging type of thing, right? So
Totally.
that's really cool. Another feature I learned, speaking of, hey, I met you at a coffee shop type of thing, is I didn't realize there was a QR code there in the search bar. You
Yep.
don't need business cards. Throw the paper away. You can just go to this QR code on LinkedIn and scan it. Thought
Yeah.
that was
And I
pretty
mean,
cool.
when you go to a conference, you should take a screenshot of your LinkedIn QR code and save it as the background to your mobile phone,
Right. Oh, I
so that
love
you
that.
just pop up the
Too easy.
phone and they can scan it with their camera, and then boom, you're connected.
So y'all heard it. If you ever see me or Liam or anyone from White Glove at a conference, do not hand us business cards. You better be scanning QR codes. I love it. That is so good. So let's talk 2025 and on the other end, because we're talking a lot about best practices and the benefits, right? I always like, I was mentioning it earlier, the messiness. Let's talk about the messiness, or even protect from the watch out fors, right? What are some of the, maybe one or two of the biggest mistakes maybe people will make still using AI in their personal branding, that you would say, hey, watch out for this? We talked about the automation, like using AI on the comments, right? We're just
Mhm.
speaking of that, right? Be authentic, and it's like a, I don't know if you call it a tweet anymore, but an X, or
Yep.
I think Elon said he doesn't care what you call it, just do it.
Yep.
What are some of the other mistakes that people will either make, or we want to kind of let them know, hey, watch out for this, do not do this in 2026 when you're using AI in your personal branding on LinkedIn?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's not necessarily AI specific, but engagement pods are a big thing on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people.
Walk me through that. I read a lot about that, and is that actually people like conspiring? Like, hey, you're gonna like my post,
Yep.
then you're gonna. Is that what they're doing?
Yep. Well, there's that, and then
It's a lot of
tool.
work.
There's that, and there's tools,
There's
right?
like
So
bots.
there's manual tools, the manual groups that you can join, and they're like, okay, your job is to just react to all the content that comes out of this pod, and
Wow.
they stand people up. I mean, I've seen people that have built pretty substantial followings on that as the foundation, and then once they stop using it, the engagement goes away. So it's
Wow.
like you just bit your nose to spite your face. What are you
Right.
doing, right? The
Hmm.
problem is they usually can't get rid of it because they're so kind of hooked on the dopamine of seeing all the engagement. But
The
LinkedIn is getting
analytics.
wise to it. I think LinkedIn's going to have to do something about it pretty soon because they're coming to a point where it used to be that I think the engagement pods helped LinkedIn a little bit. Like it created more eyeballs on the platform. Now I think they're realizing that it's probably, hurting their image. And so they're trying to do some more about it. There's also third-party tools that you can use that will essentially leverage AI to automatically engage in your content.
Wow.
They have access to your cookies, so they can log into LinkedIn on your behalf, and they can do all sorts of stuff from your profile. And of course, none of this is ever mentioned on the splash page, right? You're not
Right.
seeing
Right.
this; it's all in the
Build
T's and
build a
C's.
six figure build a six-figure business with. It's
Exactly,
like, wait a second, you're doing all this other
exactly.
craziness.
Yeah,
That's
and
so
and they're
funny.
just like, set it and forget it, and we'll just have people reacting to your stuff, and it's no problem. And like, sure, it feels kind of nice to see you got a bunch more impressions and you got more engagement metrics, but at the end of the day, it's not genuine and it's not authentic engagement.
It's
So
not
what's
sustainable.
the purpose of it, right? It's not
Right.
sustainable. So that's the biggest thing that I caution people against is try and avoid that FOMO vibe and try and avoid thinking of, can I be the next Gary Vee? Don't worry about being the next Gary Vee. Just be you
Right.
and share the things that you know and connect with people that you are interested in connecting with and let nature take its course, right? And
Yeah.
if you post consistently, you converse consistently, and you connect with people consistently, you will inevitably find opportunity on the platform. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee and the Daily Vee. I mean, I'm an OG. I was like episode one, right?
Yep.
And he would say the same thing. Don't be
Yep.
me, be you. Like
Yep.
that's it. Like get away from me. Don't be me, be you.
That's
It's
it.
like be yourself. I love it. That's really, really good. Here, I got to take a little drink, and it reminded me actually. My mouth was getting a little dry. So Poppy, right? Speaking
Yeah.
of enterprise brand using personal brands, right? And they just got picked up by what is it, PepsiCo for
Yep.
who knows how much it was
One point
billion.
one point nine five billion.
Wow,
Massive.
that's amazing. But
Yep.
what a great example, right? This thing went viral, and I got to tell you, I mean, it's pretty good. It still has
Yeah.
5 grams of sugar. It's pretty good, but it was just how they went on a marketing spree using personal branding. I mean,
Yep.
they did it perfectly, and people wanted to be a part of it. I mean, great packaging and all, but people wanted to be a part of the experience. It was so good. So kudos to them.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
on the inverse, right? Conversely, you've got Elon Musk's like personal brand and the way that that's impacting Tesla right now, right?
Right.
I heard him on the news the other day being like, I can't believe people are lighting fire to my cars, and it's like, well, I can't either. I think that's I would never do that myself. I mean, I drive one, um, but that's how important personal branding is now, right? You are the brand, and if you as a person who's running a brand is out there and you're putting out a lot of good stuff, then good things happen. And if you're putting out bad stuff or stuff that's going to offend a certain population, then yeah, you're gonna. I mean, you might lose $1 billion in market valuation almost overnight, right? And so I think that is something that is relatively new to the psyche of corporations, especially bigger corporations. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I think there's some CEOs that aren't going to care about it, and there's other CEOs that will. And I think that the companies that have CEOs that embrace the idea of a strong personal brand being good for business will ultimately have better success with marketing and recruiting than the companies that don't.
Yeah, spot on. And I know we're coming up to time here in a bit. I want to respect your time. You're a busy guy, so we appreciate you. A lot of our audience also comes not just from the private sector, right, or business owners themselves or franchisors, but they're also in the government space, our local
Yep.
municipalities. So that's interesting. I haven't really read up enough or done enough research to see how our local government entities that want to create these smart cities. We have a great podcast recently, by the way. Melissa Kraft, CIO of Frisco, was talking about how she creates a culture of innovation, of failing fast, and building these smart cities. Specifically there in Frisco, which has set a high bar. But how could they, with your advice, how could they use some of this personal branding? Is it similar to the private sector? Is there some similarities there, or would it be a different approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, government is business, right? It's just a different form of business, and so I think I would guess that government employees are less. They hang out on LinkedIn a lot less than people that are in corporate business or traditional business or startups or technology companies, but they're still there, right? And everybody has a LinkedIn profile. The question is
Right.
how active are they, and how effective are you at getting things out there? But I think, for example, like the mayor of my town is very active on LinkedIn, and he basically just takes the content that he posts on Instagram and he puts it on LinkedIn. And if he's adding people who are professionals and who are government employees in the city we live in to his network, then they're going to see his stuff. And that's just another channel. You treat it like another channel. It's another social channel to get your personal brand out there. And I think leaders in government should absolutely be doing this, right? And it's funny that you mentioned this because I was actually looking through Sales Navigator, which is like the most premium
Right.
version of LinkedIn you can get, because I was trying to find folks who are in the government for a client of mine who was interested in learning more about what their presence looks like. And I was shocked that a lot of congressmen and senators aren't actually on LinkedIn. So
Right.
at that level, I understand why they might not be. uh, I'm guessing that their age might also be a reason, but the other factor is, I think at smaller municipal levels, I think it makes a lot more sense too, because it's a smaller world, right? It's a smaller community. And if you start sharing content on a platform like LinkedIn with people who are in that community, then, you know, inevitably you're creating connections and a bond that will benefit your messages.
Yeah, that's spot on. It's so interesting because I think we're turning the page of a different relationship between the community and their local government. I
Yep.
think because of the technology and knowing what the technology can do and how it can be used, people are looking for more transparency. They want to make sure that the dollars are going to the right programs, right? That we're investing in our kiddos and the right things. And I think you're onto something. I think we're going to start seeing more government officials almost replicate what it would look like if you were an executive in the private sector. I think community members are going to want to see that. We want to know who our leaders are, right? We want to see, back to the personal branding. We want to know what their brand is. What is their character? I don't want to have to go to a quarterly town hall
Right.
or read a press release. I want to know who my leadership is, and what a great platform to showcase who you are. I mentioned Melissa Kraft; she's one of the pioneers there, and as a government official. Now, I will say she came from the private sector, so she understands
Makes
what
sense.
you put out there. Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited about that. All right, well, last question. And God, this is I have like 15 more, but I'm gonna end it on this one, right? Let's look 3 to 5 years out, right? Yesterday, Nvidia, I think it was yesterday, Nvidia came out with this partnership with Disney and GM. The one with Disney though was this little R2D2 comes out of the stage and
Yeah.
platform. I don't know if you've seen it yet. You got to see it.
Awesome.
And so there's robotics, there's humanoids around the corner. Agents are here, right? People say it's just a buzzword. They're here. We use it, you use it. Agents are here, and it's just going to get better and better. What does the next 3 to 5 years look like for personal branding? Is it more, we're kind of talking about cyber robotics. Does it get less human or does it get more human?
Oh man, that's a really great question. Um, Honestly, I don't feel comfortable even thinking what it's like 3 years from now, because you think about the pace that things are
Oh my
moving.
goodness. We talk, yeah,
Um, I mean, you look at what, DALL-E looked like 2 years ago, like the Will Smith picture of him, like, eating a
right.
pizza or whatever it was, and, like, now it's
Yeah. The
flawless.
spaghetti.
The spaghetti. The speed that it's moving is just insane, so it's very hard to predict it, but I do think that there is a need for more authentic uh, connection between humans in an AI world, right, where robots are playing a bigger part of our existence. they should be there to do the things that humans are not great at, right? Like I would love to have a robot that folds my laundry so I can save 4 hours every day,
Right.
or every Sunday, right? Um, I would love robots to do all sorts of stuff that I have to do because I don't have one, you know. But when it comes to people, there's just simply no replacing that human connection, in my opinion. And so I think, you will end up having, tools like HeyGen and Synthesia and all these other AI tools that are creating video avatars that are insanely realistic. I mean, right now you can still tell that there's something about it that's not super authentic, but it's very close. It's like 90% on the way there. And so I think that will inevitably become more ubiquitous, right? There will be an avatar for every person can have an avatar that goes out and sort of says things to people on their behalf, and they can train them to do it. And I think as people get more intelligent about tools, that they will want to start programming that. But I think at the end of the day, it's also creating a bit more of a desire to have stronger connection. And I think that LinkedIn is the platform where this is going to happen, right? You can verify your identity there. It's the only
Right.
platform that verifies your identity with your license. And you've got all the information that you could possibly need to vet somebody if you're doing business with somebody or you're recruiting somebody. And I think I think the people that are willing to put themselves out there without the help of AI too much, or at least not just like completely hand it over to AI, are going to thrive. Because our personalities are an asset. They're not a liability. And I think up until this point, the narrative has always been, oh, personal brands is a liability to the company, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, listen, everybody's online and everybody wants to connect with other people now. And you're going to have to just evolve, because if you're not, you're going to be hiring B players, and nobody wants B players.
Yeah, you're spot on. And you made me think of something, and we'll leave the audience hanging on this one because you and I need to chat, and we love your relationship with White Glove AI. Nick James, our founder and
Yeah,
CEO.
he's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. Jason Hess. I'd love to chat with you, and I'm going to say this during the recording just so people can hear it. I'd love to chat with you on how we can strengthen the brand in an immersive experience. Use
Mm,
AI, right? But I talk about it on the morning show a lot. I think Meta, and then actually we talked about it this morning around Ray-Ban, the Ray-Ban immersive experience.
yeah,
There's something there, and I'm looking forward to spending time there and how you can build your personal brand in a immersive metaverse.
yep,
I think LinkedIn will continue to be powerful.
yep,
I do fear that if unless LinkedIn does something about it, this bots, the things that unfortunately are the bad things on LinkedIn when it comes to AI. I hope it doesn't take over because it's I'm seeing it a lot more be more prevalent lately.
yep,
And so, what I hope doesn't happen is people start to search elsewhere. But say they do, could we find an immersive place where you can create a personal brand and people are truly like today? Could we have been an immersive experience where we're together
yeah.
learning more about each other, right? Our mannerisms, right? All you
I
can
mean, that's
you
how
can
I
see the
that's how I
poppy,
that's how I got to know Nick, right? Is the Web3 days, and then the NFT
right?
boom and all that stuff. And like I was in the metaverse hanging out with other people all
So
the time.
cool.
It's kind of like a video game that is your reality but in video
Exactly.
format. And I mean, we're all kids at one point. We're all used to video games, so that could very well be a thing. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But uh, yeah, it's changed directions pretty drastically. But I think between AI and cryptocurrency and blockchain, like you've got all sorts of stuff happening right now that is like the stars aligning for a very interesting future. So at the very least, I think we're all going to have a hell of a decade. There's no
Yeah,
question
we
about it.
we are. It's fun. And the cool thing is we're bringing our kiddos along, and
Yeah.
I'm ready for some Ready Player One with you, Liam.
There you
We're
go.
gonna
I'll
do.
do it whenever, man. I haven't been in Ready Player One in at least a year, so I need to dust that off and get in
Yeah,
there. So anytime.
I love it. Well, this was great. We appreciate you bringing your perspective, your experience, and as I mentioned a couple times, your authenticity. You're just so relatable, so easy to talk to. So lucky
Thanks,
to
man.
have you on the show, and I'm
Likewise.
sure I appreciate that. Those in the audience will find a ton of nuggets and value here. So before we let you go, I know you got to run. Where can we find you on LinkedIn? Is there anywhere else that we can find you? A website, email address?
Yeah. So my website is liamsbrandstand.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. There's only 3 Liam Darmodys on LinkedIn, and I'm the
Nice.
only I'm
Did you
the
take
only
them
one.
out? You took out the rest.
I'm the only one in North America. So
Oh, there we
that's
go.
how you know it's me.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, I am on Substack as well, and I have a presence on X and Instagram, but I don't really post much there. So that the LinkedIn platform is the best place to see the real me.
Excellent. We'll put that in the show notes so people can go directly to you. Well, we appreciate you. And that's it for today's episode. Liam Darmody, make sure to go follow him and ask him a ton of questions. Such a wealth of knowledge and just a good guy, good human.
Thanks,
That's
man.
it.
Appreciate
Oh,
that.
my pleasure. That's it for today's episode of the AI Executive Podcast. And everyone, we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.